Hey guys, it's Chris once again, and we're back with another video on the PC build thing. I set a video out the other week talking about what motherboard should I do. Should I do a dual processor? Should I do a single processor? Should I do this? Should I do that? And one person, thanks a lot, voted and said do a dual. So here it is. This is an Abit VP-6 PC running Windows 98. Now, the good, bad, and the ugly. For 1998, this would have been a kick-butt machine. This used to run Windows 2003 Server, hence the dual processors back in the day. This OS, as you know, a 16-bit OS, doesn't support multiple processors, so it just uses one at the maximum of 1 gigahertz, which these are. But digging through my mess piles of cards and the shelves here of my workroom that are just full of things, I managed to come across a couple interesting things that I wanted to show you. In here is nothing fancy. This is an Nvidia TNT2 Riva card with a whopping 2 megs of RAM. This is not going to be built for a gaming machine, just a retro old machine. I can play some games on it. It works fine. I do have a Intense 3D Voodoo. This is a Integraph a Voodoo 3DFX card that I want to put in. There's many things. So I have in here a 3Com 3C905T 10100 Ethernet card. There's a Sound Blaster Live. And on the bottom is an Adaptec 2940 SCSI controller with a DB25, a zip drive, and here's the neat stuff. Inside of this, I found three things. Number one is a PD650. What is a PD650? It's kind of like a worm drive. You see that? But it's rewritable. Worm drives were originally write once, read many. This is a rewritable optical disc. And even better than that, Hewlett-Packard 5.2 gig double-sided rewritable optical disc. Like the original worm drives, I'm talking, man, I got stuff. I got all these 5.2 gigabyte discs from an HP optical jukebox. I'm going to switch my input source here to PC. I'm going to turn this on the side a little bit. This optical drive here, I don't know what happened to the faceplate. Like I said, the disc would fit in this tray right here. Put the PD disc in. This was 650 megs, single-sided, rewritable, and you'll notice it's a lot like the larger cartridge that goes in here, which we'll get to in a second. But the PD disc actually pushes in on here and fills up the whole slot. That way, when this goes in, you'll see the two lights right here. It'll actually only have one light for a CD-ROM. This light will go to a green, like it just did, and this light will go green or orange while it's working. As I wait for Windows to finish booting, we can go ahead and put this side A of this thing in there too. Blaster card. But here is the removable disc. You see it's 2.4 gigabytes right here, hopefully, and you could drag stuff to it. Like, I don't really have anything to drag, so I'll drag this Sound Blaster setup file and boink, that's it. Now on the device itself, Dan, there's an orange light right here. Now watch, I'm going to make a new folder. I'm going to call it Stuff. And I'm going to copy everything that's already on the drive to Stuff. So I'm duping the data. So it accesses its SCSI And here we go on the screen. You can see it copying. I don't know what the amount is here, but it's not like deathly fast, you know. It is. This is like apparently 80s technology or something like that. So our total count is 26 megabytes roughly. Let's see, I'll enter 33.7 megs, 38 megs. So now it's 60. And the drive is still writing. Where is it? There, it just finished. So it is not instantaneous on this worm drive. A rewritable optical disc rod. That's what it says. R-O-D. 650 rod. Anyway. Now on to the PD650, which is also listed as a removable disc with 600 and something, 32 megs. I can take crap on this one and write to it. Let's make a folder of crap. Let's just grab like the driver's folder on the C drive. Okay, this is 250 megs, and we'll copy that into the clipboard. And we're going to go to the removable disk and we're going to paste it. This is 650 megs. 45 seconds. Now you can see on the device that both lights are on because it's writing to the cartridge. And 4 minutes remaining to write 650 some odd megs. I'm going to cancel it because I don't really want to write the data to it. And this is also a removable folder. And since it is an optical disc, like reading and writing to a CD-ROM and a cartridge, basically that's what it's doing. Okay, so it just went green. So that's pretty much it. And then when you're done with it, just normal eject. Cartridge comes out. And there you go. On it, it does look like a CD. But you see all those little marks in there? As I go back and forth, those different lines that are in it. Well, that's the Magneto optical part of it. On the original worm drives, they had the ability to write once, read many. And it would actually burn and etch the data lines on the discs with, I believe it's called a Casimir effect, where you heat up the substrate layer. You would heat this up and then you could use electromagnetism. So the laser would do the heating, not the burning. Electromagnetism would put the binary 1 or 0 for the data, and then it was permanent. On this rewritable drive, it oh crap, I just bumped the reset button. I was going to turn this a little bit. Whoops. Let's close this. With this rewritable drive, you can read and write to it numerous times. I also have another piece of history. Does anybody know what this is? It's not a floppy drive. So here's a floppy drive, right? Take this cartridge and put it here. So this, with its missing faceplate, might have helped if it had the thing. But there was a company called Laser Servo Technologies back in the 90s. And they made a floppy disk called LS120. This is a 120 meg floppy disk. How does it work? Well, you know how the zip drives work, right? It's the same scenario. It just has regular, normal disk media. But instead of using a head to write the data, they used a laser, like that of a CD-ROM. And you could store 120 megs. The only downfall was it wasn't floppy. This was an IDE drive, so it acted and worked kind of like a hard disk. Of course, a SCSI zip disk, which if you've never seen a zip drive before, zip drives were very popular at the turn of the century. I feel old saying that. Back before you know, thumb drives were coming in, you know, 4 and 8 gigabytes, you were limited to floppy storage. And floppy storage then became these things. These are called zip disks. They hold 100 megs a shot, and it basically goes in here. We went from floppy drives, right, at 1.2 megabit to floppy drives at 1.4 megabit to floppy drives ish 120 after these things. So the Zip 100 parallel and SCSI came out turn of the century, 1990, between 96, so let's say 1998. 98 we had 100 meg. Now there's another one called a Zip Jazz or iOmega Jazz drive, which is 1 gigabyte, and 1 gigabyte went, you know, a long way when your hard drives were not that large. Okay, so here we are back at the Zip drive, and it's just a standard, you know, Zip 100 floppy, nothing extravagant about it. I make a Zip 100, and it came with tools that you could use specifically for the Zip drive itself. You'd have different tabs like the drive information, auto sleep after 15 minutes, the SCSI ID, the sleep timer, startup, Windows wake up preferences, the drive sleeps in 15 minutes. You could make the disk non-removable. You could run diagnostics on this. 1996 ROM date. The disk itself is 100 meg. It's a DOS 16. Field formatted, no. So the serial number, compression, you can compress it so it contains 141 using Windows 98's drive space 3. Sharing tools, general standard Windows tools. You could also still format this the regular way. Format. Now this is using the iOmega tools. It takes over the Windows type. So we're gonna do. You can do make disk bootable. Boot me, and we'll do start. Are you sure? 10 seconds. Formatting the drive, and the little SCSI light just blinks right here when it's accessing. Oh, it's done. So if I were to copy files to it, I'll copy this Sound Blaster directory. You can see it's copying data, and it's done. And then of course it has to catch up, and then you're done. Removing the disk, you can either right click eject through Windows, or you just press the button. So I'm still working on this thing. It's a couple days later. I managed to procure, let's see if I can zoom in on this thing. Right here, a Nvidia 7600 GT AGP 8X 256 meg graphics card. Now it doesn't run natively on Windows 98, but I found this guy that made a driver that supports all the 7600 series cards natively in 98. So now I have a nice 40-inch driver or display, and here under my display adapter it does say GeForce 7600 GT. So that's cool, and it's running right now at a resolution of 1360 by 768 true color, and it has both display ports working, so I could hook up the second monitor, but had a couple issues with my Adaptec card, so I swapped it out. Right now I'm working on building a DOS boot disk, so I can run Ghost and clone this hard drive to this CompactFlash 64 gig that was in my Macintosh video that didn't work on it, to this. I had to make a custom Molex connector from Micro 4 for standard Molex, gave myself an extra tail. This was a splitter, I cut it, soldered the ends, heat wrapped them. Good to go, it's working. This drive is supported. It does show up 60 gigs free, but it works. I mean, ain't nothing on it, but it's available. Okay, so we're cloning to we're ghosting, and we're cloning down to the pseudo solid state drive. Here you can see power line in the middle, flashing green like crazy is activity. So it's resizing the partition. We're going from the 20 gig Windows drive to the 61 gigabyte. So it's got 2 minutes ish, about 2 minutes or so remaining based on this. 3 megs remaining. There we go. Completed. We're going to reset computer. I'm going to unplug the IDE that was here. So from there, we're going to take the CompactFlash adapter that's now primary 0 and plug it in. The PD650 will now become secondary. So we'll see if it boots. It's flickering. Primary master CF card version 605. Secondary slave Compaq PD1. The Magneto optical drive, and boom, booting from CompactFlash. Whoops. Creative Lab Sound Blaster, a lot faster. Look at that. All I gotta do is get rid of this thing in the startup, and then it plays the Windows startup sound. There's the Windows startup sound. So now I'm going to go to my computer, drive C. As you can see, 1.44 gig. Free is 58.6 gigs. It is drive C, FAT32. That's got one of the utilities on it. See what we got. So clean all this up, put everything back together, put the case on it. Then we have a Pentium 3, 1 gigahertz, has 2 processors. But here's what's neat. With this configuration, this card, USB reader, I'll hook everything up. The PD650 cartridge drive, the Magneto optical drive with the 5.2 gigabyte discs, or 2.4 per side, and booting off a CompactFlash card. Now, I just reach into the bag of tricks and pull out another 64 gigger. I can use it in the CompactFlash for, like, let's say Windows XP or Windows 2000 or Linux or whatever I want on this config. I'm thinking around BOS. And that's about it. So stay tuned for that. And at least we got the hardware done. Everything's working. And we're good to go on that. So thanks for watching. Thumbs up, subscribe, comment, like. I appreciate it. Take care.